This is Gnomadic Flow with the Astral Nomads. This is Ian.
This is Bobby.
This is Patty.
Welcome, welcome. First chat today, we're going to be talking about the biggest topic of all.
I did that. Yes, I'll go ahead and grab the reins and speak from experience, Bobby here. So 2 years ago, I actually had an NDE experience. I found out in the rudest way possible that I'm allergic to bees. So I was being at my grandma's house, to make a short story. And all of a sudden, I was struck by a yellow jacket. Not an odd occurrence, definitely when you're reading English in North Carolina. Something that happens. But this time, something was different. Something was odd, so I knew something was happening to my body, and I was familiar with anaphylactic shock. So I rushed to the urgent care. All that aside, got there in time. As soon as I approached the doors, I passed out. I got the words anaphylactic shock out of my mouth, and my heart completely stopped. So I was resurrected, brought back with the epinephrine. So I can tell you, it is a wild experience. It's an instantaneous, in my case, it was an instantaneous transition to go from this physical consciousness, Bobby Latta used to this, moving around, robotic self, to a completely different realm where things are not tangible, things are not quantifiable like it is in this reality, three-dimensional reality. So it definitely, I'd already been interested in spirituality and esoteric and metaphysical things, but that was the threshold. That really was like critical mass, that point where it was just like, oh, so like this was solidification, validation of something that I had been researching for a large portion of my life and something I've been very interested in. So that kind of opened the door and the segue to potential dimensions. What is dimensions? We talk about it in a physical sense, in a didactic, analytical sense. We have formations, three-dimensional shapes, but let's talk about dimensions, realms, planes of reality. Think about dreams.
Possibly densities.
Exactly, densities.
Mm-hmm. I mean, water and light both operate in such similar ways when you look at the physics, and maybe that's the key to it. Maybe, light, water, gravity, maybe they're mediums to this spiritual truth, to these other realms.
And honestly, fundamental elements to our own selves, if we think about it. How much is the human body comprised of water? A tremendous amount.
Yeah. And the only reason anybody can perceive light, or reality, is light.
We literally need UV rays. We need direct sunlight in order to be healthy as human beings. So we are a cumulation, a conglomerate of light, water, dirt, wind, air. It's all, we are the elements. We are, if you dare I say, the fifth element.
We are
the
literal
manifestation of the highest pinnacle of consciousness that the earth has ever experienced at this point, as far as we know. So that's something to build. That's something that's great responsibility comes with that, but yet gets wasted, yet gets squandered every day on our planet by our human race. So it's something that when you're approached with death, the great equalizer, something we all have to go through. And no matter what type of biological creature you are, if you hold an existence, you hold solidity, you hold density, matter, you will die. That will fade. It's a cycle. It's ephemeral. Just like the words that I'm speaking now are ephemeral.
Yeah.
So it will fade. There has to be that transition. So anytime you're approached with a event that really brings you straight forward, staring in the eyes of death, that's the most liberating thing that can happen. That's the greatest fear that the human brain has. The human brain already fears the unknown, but that's the greatest.
That's the biggest unknown, right?
There is.
There's no statistics to provide for anything.
We've had innocent consciousness for as far as we can remember, even in dreams or our sleep, where our consciousness is still abounding, it's still flowing. So we fear that. We fear that cessation, that stop of that silence, death. We don't know enough about it, and through my own experience, I know that consciousness does proceed after death for momentarily, if anything. Even our science comes back to this stuff. I mean, NDEs are not something that's just a modern thing. It's something that's more capable in the modern times with medical breakthroughs and capabilities to bring you back to life, like in my case, epinephrine. But they've been reported all the way back to the times of Plato, one of the oldest NDE experiences, not exactly, but basically alluding to, is from Plato's 10th book, Republic. And it's the story of He was a soldier who basically went through an NDE experience. I mean, this is coming from one of the greatest philosophers of the human race. I mean, just to ever exist. So it does hold prominence and it does hold place. It's something that has occurred for a long, long time. It will continue to occur. Definitely the more that medical advances occur. So it's something that we need to come to understand, and it's something, a concept that Eckhart Tolle brings up, and I think this is brilliant, that, and it's such a beautiful quote, he said, the real reason to life, the whole purpose, is to die before you die. So you can live. That's the only way you can truly live. To truly die away from the ego, so you can live aboundingly. You can live with no inhibitions. You just let it go, and you're your true, authentic self in every moment, every second. And that's something that death can bring you to, whether you're conscious of it or not.
Yes.
Whether you're unconsciously put in that situation or not.
Well, so we can say we know from most spiritual sacred texts, all of them say there's, always transformation. Always transformation from one state to another state. And all the real key spiritual traditions are all talking about how usually it's death that initiates a transition either to the next realm or back into this realm. You stay alive, either resuscitated or you didn't die, whatever the circumstances. But there's these experiences that you have, and it's all about losing at least your perception, your conscious perception of who you physically are, in order to see that everything around you appears physical to your senses. But you and I all know deep down, and always have, that things are more spiritual.
And it's invisible to the naked eye. Anyways.
So we have a near-death experience. Let's talk about the sleep part of it.
Exactly.
What kind of experiences?
The other conduit for astral.
Exactly.
So in real life, I was gonna say astral projection.
Exactly.
Something that we both have a little mild experience in. We haven't, unluckily, we haven't really got too far in it because of some mild factors like fear and stuff that hold you back and other things. But that is another, I'm glad you brought that up, it's another great conduit for experiencing that separation of, and this soul's a little cliche, kind of drawn out, but that separation of consciousness from the physical vessel. That separation of, exactly, it's just like entering the dream realm, but conscious.
Well, you said, I want to get this in there because you said it was pretty eloquent. You said, we obviously got to talking about death, but you mentioned how the process of an out-of-body experience or astral projection or this or whatever, there's a point, there's a threshold that you meet right before your body falls asleep. Hopefully your consciousness is still conscious. But if you can remain there, you'll start to get this really weird sensation. You were saying that a lot of people have experienced this. Clicking sounds, vibrations,
blue
lights, all kinds of lights. I personally have experienced laying there and getting like a tingling sensation all throughout my body. And feeling like something was going to happen. Now, this is the key here, is it made a lot of sense. I thought about it, okay, well, it's almost like death is creeping up. And like you gotta fall asleep before death gets you, or else you'll die. You won't sleep, you'll die. It's kind of like that's a good metaphor for this, and it's all linking together because it's this connection to the after life, the inner realm, astral realm. They all coincide. They take even the etymology is kind of the same.
Think about it whenever that classic archetypal dream that everybody has, or everybody's experienced at least once in their life. I imagine where you're falling. You're about to fall, and as soon as you're about to fall, you wake up, become fully conscious again. It's the exact same, it's just inversed.
Yeah.
And
you guys have falling dreams before?
You're afraid of that true waking up. You're afraid of separating from that dream state. Because this is a dream state, and entering to the true state.
Yes.
There's a fear there.
Exactly, and that's the key.
That's the key. That original, place. That source.
Fear keeps us locked into believing that the physical reality is all that exists.
Right.
And that's the one big pitfall with science is you can quantify everything to no end, but you're still just quantifying the dream. Right. You're still only understanding the dream. Like you're still, and a lot of people are denying the rest of it the non-waking, the true, the inner realms, the eternal realms.
Exactly.
But real quick, I want to say the falling thing. If I like to talk about that and see if anybody has variations, because I have a variation of it. Mine is not a falling dream. I have a dream where I have a superhuman ability to jump really high. But then I start to fall back down, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do to like land carefully.
Yeah, because you can't try the superhuman ability to land.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I jump up, and then I get the falling dream, but only because I just jumped. And now I have to figure out like what's happening, what's going on. And a lot of times it's been running from police. Unfortunately, it's the reality.
But exactly, it's that underlying fear of unknown. Unknown circumstance. Even the human brain, even if it's a subtle thing, is walking into a new job or walking into a new school, a new situation and place. It seems so daunting. When in reality, 3 or 4 days, a week down the road, you're going to be fully adapted to that
You
place.
got to take that leap of faith.
You're going to know who everybody is. Exactly. It's like we are constantly and perpetually in the state of forgetfulness, where we constantly forget that we're adaptable. We constantly forget that we're clay that can be malleable. It's malleable and can be made and formed into whatever thing we desire, whatever thing we consciously choose to be a part of in that moment, in that time. We constantly, perpetually forget that, and it just shocks me. But it makes sense at the same time. It's a biological safeguard. The brain has one function: to keep you alive. That's it.
Yeah.
Keep you alive. Keep you.
And you know what?
That's it. That's the
fear is kind of the same in that regard.
Exactly.
If it's not forgetfulness, I would say it's fear, and it's the fear of death. So once you get close to that point, exactly
fearful,
right.
You're forgetful of the
exactly
true
right.
nature, of the true exactly.
Less awareness. Fear kind of distracts from awareness.
Fear
It distracts you. It's a distraction.
Exactly. It's false.
It's all bullshit, and it's bad for you. The immortal words of George Carlin.
The mental babble.
Yeah, the monkey mind,
exactly.
the chatter.
Chatterbox.
The chatter. Everybody has this voice, okay? It's not unique to any one of you. We're all the same in this regard. We experience the same thing. We have mental chatter that just talks about whatever the fuck it's talking about at that moment. It could be bullshit. It could be relevant and save your day. It could cause you to be distracted and destroy your life. Either way, it's a chatter that happens. And you can dial in. You can dial it down. And how you do that is awareness. You find awareness in knowledge and all this to meditate, play guitar, just talk on the radio, talk with your friends. Anything you can find that is a distraction. How is it a distraction? Why is it a distraction? Because you are in control. And all you have to do is learn what your mind needs to shut up. Right. And, find the healthiest version of that and stick with it.
Exactly. And there we go. Oops. And the way I like to liken it, and we've actually talked about it several times, is that of a radio. Our consciousness and our brain is very
my
much
favorite.
like a transistor or radio. And these activities you speak about, these things that put you in that state of mind,
the thoughts, the chatter,
they're the tuner, they're the dial.
Okay,
you change the frequency until you find that right frequency. If you're trying to listen to 88.7, you're not going to listen to 88.9. You might be real close. It might feel, but it doesn't feel quite right.
Exactly.
Then you get that right, that straight frequency. You're really picking up on it. So those varying activities, those varying things, those experiences, those are the dial. That is what puts people to where they need to be to receive what they're meant to be, their true signal. And
just by the way, mainstream media is like 79.3. Like you tune in and it's just...
Yeah.
So be careful.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, and I was actually watching a video the other day, and I'll paraphrase it roughly, horribly. But he basically, along the lines, he was saying that don't watch the media, don't get so caught up in that, make the media, make the news. Don't be so caught up in visualizing, always being the spectator. Actually be the initiator. Make something happen. Grab the reins, do something in your local circle, do something you're in control of. Stop worrying about things you can't get to. When someone thinks about building a giant wall or a giant, house or something like that, they don't think about, oh my God, I got to build this all up. They start with one brick at a time. Now lay that brick down, lay it down perfect. Exactly. Down the second brick, third, fourth, fifth, and before you know it, you have the house. Before you know it, you've got everything done. It's small steps, small goals leading to the greater big, the greater goal, the greater achievement. So many of us, we defeat ourselves before we embark on anything. before we even get started on our passions, we don't allow ourselves to fail. The only thing that makes anyone different, someone successful, anything, any what different from anyone else is the fact that they failed 1,000 fucking times and got back up.
They keep going, exactly. It's always it's motivation.
Is a precursor to win.
You
have to fail in order to be successful. That's the only way you can be adamant and be good and be truly gain something. The fact that you fell and you failed and you've seen the other side of it. Mm-hmm. When you know both sides, you can choose which one you want.
That's key.
You know success. You get to make the choice of that.
Yeah.
But without failure, you'll never be a true successful person. Like, you have to fail. Have to.
Definitely agree.
It's the only way you know that you are doing anything wrong to begin with. How else can you succeed if you don't know what you're failing on?
Well, to bring it full circle, it's like you said, seeing that other side. And it's here while we're here in the physical reality, while we're living. Nature's always going to work through balances, polar opposites, balancing those poles. And so now death being the ultimate, right? We look at the duality of life and death. So we hit the near-death experience. Yeah. We hit a little bit of sleep. And of course, we'll have a part 2. And we'll try and get a bunch of sound bites to make goofy little things in between. So, but we'll have a part 2, and we'll kind of expound on all this. But we hit the NDE, we hit the sleep and astral projection. Let's go into
let's finish this Holy Trinity up.
Yeah, the spiritual entheogens. Absolutely.
So you want to break down, explain what entheogens are for people who may not be. Essentially, what that term means or what that actually is talking about, referring to.
Well, technically, you read it last, and I feel like I'd make a fool of myself trying to define it and be off.
But so we just gonna dumb this down to you.
Here we go.
We ain't gonna get all etymology.
Ladies and gentlemen,
essentially, an entheogen is a psychedelic substance, i.e., mescaline, DMT, peyote, anything that causes a hallucinogenic experience to a very prolonged state. But except DMT is a pretty short but one of the most intense experiences you can have. But basically, to me, this is like a part of the Holy Trinity. You've got death, which is like a way of, NDEs, like a way of biohacking, astral projection, meditation. And then you have entheogens. You have these psychedelics, which are basically, the way I describe it, is imagine your brain just has a power cord to it, and you're just plugging into the universe. You're just plugging into the library's Wi-Fi, and you're just getting all the info. You're just, you have this reassurance.
Get your monthly updates.
Exactly. You have this reassurance that everything is okay. Everything is
precisely
exactly how it should be.
Precisely. And it's all playing out whether you like it or not.
That's the biggest key. Intention. Attention. Is the fact that nothing matters, but everything matters.
Precisely.
Nobody
That's the hardest part.
Shit because we're all gonna be dead eventually. But it really fucking matters that you do everything you should do and can do in this life.
Exactly.
That's really fucking important. And I know it sounds weird, and a lot of people may not get it, and it's a paradox, but it's the truth. What you do may not seem like it holds much gravity, but in terms of your locality and the people in your community and the people in your life and your family, friends, co-workers, all that shit, you have a massive impact. Your vibration, your actions, your choices, your demeanor, your attitude massively affects those around you, which will massively affect other people and create this chain reaction. We were talking about earlier. There is no thy without others. There's no others without thy. There's no thee without me.
Yeah.
There has to be that separation in order to validate any of this, the separation that exists in the first place.
That's the experience. That's what the point of this life is to experience, the infinite possibility, the infinite energy that we all are, the infinite consciousness, refracted into billions of individual counterparts experiencing their own, I'm losing the word, not subjective reality.
Exactly.
So
we're literally unfurling fractals. We're literally just blooming fractals.
Oh, yes.
And,
always at one with these fractals.
Mathematical, but it's true. Like, we really are individualized, unique pieces of this underlying, ancient, always omnipresent energy that most people feel comfortable calling God. I like to call it God. Spirit, universe, doesn't matter. It's that underlying body of energy through which everything exists and through which everything will always exist. Period.
Yeah.
That's just the end all. Like we live in this eternal. We have this eternal toy chest.
Yeah.
Where the toys are different. They vary, but it's always going back to the toy chest. It always returns home. You know, it may take a different form. It may be a robot this time or dinosaur this time, but it's still a toy from the toy box.
Yeah.
It will always go back to the toy box, and we always return home. So that's, to me, that's where death is reassuring and not depressing. That's where I find reassurance in NDEs or meditation or my psychedelic experiences. That warm, comforting feeling that I will always be okay. I incarnated.
Always
I was birthed. I was brought up in biology in my life as a human being, and my phenotype was correct. It all happened okay. So my death will be okay. Everything else will be okay.
Yeah.
That's the nature of things. It's the human biological primitive brain that makes things bad.
Yeah.
You know, introduces fear and all that shit. So death is not to be feared. Something to be very, very revered and respected.
Yes,
but
exactly.
Not feared.
Real quick, the Deathly Hallows from Harry Potter. Became a big fan because it's really awesome. The story of the three brothers. Go check it out. But the third brother, who basically is the wisest of them all, greets death at the end of his life, while the other two brothers wished for something that would help them conquer the world. They did, and then still had to die.
Exactly.
Everything, like you said, everything has to die. And now you actually did, and that's what kind of brought you to this understanding of these experiences we're referring to, and what we're calling in this talk as death.
Right.
Whether you actually die and pass on, or you don't, and you're still here to talk about it. There's NDEs as proof of that. There's, like we said, the astral projection. Definitely going to get more into that in part 2. There's also the entheogens, like we're saying. And my personal experience was with dimethyltryptamine, which is
quite the
DMT.
My friend. Quite
Now,
the trip.
Yes. Now that, and unfortunately it was given to me by a friend, but I was unable to verify exactly what kind. Is it 5-MeO-DMT, NMDMT, all the different, what was it exactly? And this is why, again, I stress intention is key. You need to be doing this stuff for the right reasons and not to be getting high. That's the whole point here. If you're trying to get high, it's not going to work.
You're trying to get high, smoke weed.
Exactly. It's not. Totally that's not what this is for. If you're trying to get high, go to a random deserted area in Peru, ask a shaman for ayahuasca, and then talk to me in a week. Because it's not about getting high. And this exactly what we're talking about. For me, DMT was my death experience. It was my moment of ego dissolution. Everything that I claim as me or I or Ian just melted away. And I literally, to get a little bit graphic, was hitting the DMT out of a water pipe, we'll call it. And I immediately, as I exhale, everybody's kind of around me, and I did kind of I had this beautiful experience because I had good friends around me. They knew the importance of this entheogen and what it provides you. And so I kind of had a little bit of guidance here. And I tried to stand up and walk, like right before it really hit. Don't do that. Sit down, lay down, take your time. The moment I exhaled, I kind of had this geometric light pattern in all aspects of my vision. Pretty much all of my perceptual being was experiencing this interconnected geometric light energy flowing pattern connecting all things of some sort. And I just kind of was like, whoa, I can't handle this, and laid back in like a, at first might have seemed as giving up, but I think it was giving in to what we're talking about, death, this ultimate thing you have to face. So why not face it when you're alive?
I definitely tried it.
Exactly, but it didn't
Never
work.
really worked.
Exactly. If you don't mind, if I just want to add this in
real
quick. It's an interesting and it's a scientific facts backed up. The one time in your life where you produce the most, because you produce DMT when you sleep naturally.
Yep, sleep, born, die.
Exactly.
Yep.
When you die, that's the time where you create the highest concentration of DMT.
Mm-hmm.
So literally when you're smoking like you did, you're emulating death. You're literally killing yourself.
Precisely.
Self. Air quotes. I know you guys can do it. Self.
Yeah.
You're killing it. So
that's the point. The self.
Now I'm
killing
gonna jump on out of here. My bad.
Yeah. So and that's no perfect, and that's exactly do that. By the way, everybody will agree with me. On
I
this.
do that there.
Everybody
I
do that.
there.
Chime in. You know, don't forget we all forget. So try not to forget and let everybody remember. But so, so anyways, I released is what I would call it. I just fully released into the experience. And as my back hit the ground, I kept falling. And I know that doesn't make sense, but my back hit the ground and I began this, like what I would call rolling into myself, into my core. And then I kind of got to a point to where I was not being anymore. I was, but I was not being. I had no external perception. I had no understanding of anything other than everything. Again, it doesn't make sense, but as I rolled back, how I explained it to people when I first came out was I found a center within me that is also like the center of maybe the planet or a star or something. It seemed like this big melting pot, this boiling hot magma of
The core.
Yes, a core that was producing life. It was a core containing consciousness.
Okay.
And I was in this like swirling magma, like a witch's cauldron of all consciousness. I don't know if it was mine, past life, future life, whatever, or just all consciousness as a whole.
Yeah.
But I hit this point, and from there I could taste, see, smell, touch, everything. Everything. I was just a thought away.
Right.
And in that moment, it was the scariest experience ever because I kind of had this realization like, well, the only answer to any of this is death. So you have to deal with that. But also with this beautiful, but all the knowledge of everything and all of the multiverse and infinitude therein is at your fingertips. You just have to seek it. So it's this ultimate bittersweet understanding through these different experiences we've mentioned and we'll continue to talk about that provides you with basically the ultimate topic we will always talk about, an understanding that there is something greater all around us all the time. You just got to find your own way to tap into it. Right? You just do it. Mm-hmm. Cue the Shia LaBeouf. Cue the Shia LaBeouf.
Just do it.
But it's true though. Like I mean, it's the only way to do anything
is to Nike.
To just do it. Check that bitch out.
That's all you gotta do.
That's
just
all you
Nike.
Gotta do. That's all you gotta do. Simple as that.
Cool, excellent. Well, we hit the 30-minute mark. Is this our part one of death?
I think so.
Cap it off here and get rolling to new tides.
Cure the times!
Keep your eye out for tides coming soon.
Oh, name drop.
Some fresh tides coming in soon. Go surfing. Thank you all very much for joining us again. I'm Ian.
This is Bob.
And I'm Patty. I'm here, so.
And we are
the Astronomads. Peace out, everybody. The protein masks fat when it exits your urine.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
I mean, this is grass I picked from the floor.
The microphone's still on it. My God, what am I talking a lot I have?
I am the Illuminati. Me and only me. I am the Gnomadic.
See, things didn't know I was gonna say to it.
Don't talk about Obamas, listen.
They call me Mesquite Treat. Wasabi Obama.
What's up, motherfucker?
It's gonna suck your leg right off your body, man. Don't do it.
God almighty Bobby.
Don't you talk about the Illuminati in this house.
God almighty Bobby, stop and watch the Illuminati be.
Brought to you by Carl's Jr.
Música